in space. He's one person that when you hear the name, you just know that this is somebody of note. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next to give us a keynote presentation is the Managing Director, Media Reach OMD Nigeria, Mr. Stephen Oluwatoyin Onaive. Round of applause for him, please, as he comes forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm not the MD. My name is Promise. So what I'm here to do is to represent Stephen, who could not make it because he has some other official engagements. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I want to actually congratulate Kisley for taking up this initiative. It's not easy, and he has actually made it a success, and it's still growing. So encouraging everyone to support him. So I'm going to be speaking on out of home in the age of attention scarcity. All right, so we want to start with this quote by Stephen King. He says, in an information-rich world, this abundance means a scarcity of something else. The scarcity of what informs consumers. What information consumes is obvious. It consumes the attention of its recipients. So, in essence, what he's saying is that the consumer for whom the information is meant for is being also consumed. And as a result, there's an attention problem. So, I'm going to be speaking to these four items that is on the screen: establishing the cause of attention scarcity, how out-of-home fills the attention space, the place of out-of-home in the age of attention scarcity, and then, of course, I'll look at some cases. And, of course, how brands are reinventing on out-of-home in the Nigerian market space. Yeah, next slide. So when you look at this slide, the question is, what is this? So we are living in an age where people are facing a barrage of information all at the same time. So the battle for attention. Okay, consumers filter 10,000 hours daily. Only the bold and the smart cut through. Shouting louder versus focusing smarter, becomes more like the problem that we need to solve. How do I focus smarter and, take myself away from the noise that you find in the environment? So every day people face barrage of different ads. And that's why Dr. Joseph said plenty of information leads to scarcity of attention. When people are overwhelmed with the volume of information confronting them, it is hard to know what to focus on. Attention rather than information becomes the scarce commodity. Next slide. So today's consumers is overwhelmed with endless choices for consumption, making attention the scarcest commodity. And this is very obvious in homes. I mean, before now we used to talk about, family, sessions or family sitting together to watch TV. But that doesn't happen anymore. You don't have that family-oriented, situations in most homes anymore because people are busy with their phones. People are becoming very individualistic with regards to what they consume and then the device that they consume those digital contents from. So you can actually pin them irrespective of who you are, whether you are their dad or their mom or their elder brother or sister. The question is the fact that people are becoming very individualistic. And so that's what's leading to these findings, okay? If the average attention span had already fallen to 8 seconds in 2022, then imagine how much more fragmented and contented it is in 2025, where every swipe, scroll, and information competes for a share of human focus. So the average human attention in 2000 was about 12 seconds. Then it reduced to 8 seconds in 2022. And then that is like more like the attention span of a golden fish. And yet our attention span is ever declining. You are, like you're going to see in the next slide. So Nielsen is saying that even now you have just 3.5 seconds to make an impact, which rather makes it even further tougher for us to break through. You will also see that it is coming even lower than 3.5 seconds. Next slide. And then recently, from OMG, we are seeing that attention span is reducing even further, 2.5 seconds. And that 85% of all advertising receives less than 2.5 seconds of attention. So that should give us, a thought for us to consider, making it even further tougher for ads to break through. Next slide. Not to talk of the consumer's expectation contradictions. Every day we go through all of this. We have no time for recall because we have so many things to remember. You want variety in various ways, seamless purchase options, requires fragmented communications within a time scale. All right, is it the right price? Does it fit into my meager disposable income? And so on and so forth. The things that consumers go through every day. And these things impinge on their attention as well. Next slide. The recent studies indicate that this is not about shorter spans, but harder competition for attention. So focus is more, fragmented because, a typical consumer is drowned with so much across digital platforms, across communication platforms, and of course, what he consumes. So researchers have also looked at attention span, and they have quite a lot to say. Pew Research in 2022 said that 67% of adults worldwide say constant notifications make it harder to focus. Because with your phone, every day there are several notifications. In fact, a lot of people have shut down quite a number of apps because consistently you receive notifications, even some that you did not opt for. And this is beginning to make it harder for consumers to focus. Multi-screening. 71% of people use a second screen while watching TV, according to Nielsen 2023. Then after a digital interruption, it takes about 25 minutes to return to the original task. All right? So what tends to happen is that because attention is reduced, and because you have so many things to pay attention to, then it is difficult for you to return to a digital content once at a distraction, because you are actually, attention is shared, by so many other contradictions or other issues that you're dealing with. Then screen switching happens roughly every 10 seconds on the average. And in the US, it estimates that it suggests an average person is exposed to 4,000 to 10,000 advertising messages per day via major media channels. And then it just keeps coming all the time. And then in the US, again, estimates suggest an average person is exposed to 4,000, okay, that's a repeat, 10,000 advertising messages per day, via media networks or media channels. Then what changed? What changed came from the shared moments to fragmented attention. Audiences once gathered around TV prime time, but now they consume media across countless apps, platforms, and devices. So like I said, we used to have family TV times in Nigeria. For those of us in the media, we call it family-oriented, sessions or time. But we don't have family-oriented, times anymore. Families don't gather to watch TV because people watch what they individually want to watch. And even when they are together, they have different devices and consuming different content, at the same time. Mobile as the new hub, smartphones become the dominant gateway to entertainment, news, and socializing, condensing the world into the palm of a hand and accelerating on-the-go consumption. All right? So if you look at mobile phone penetration in Nigeria, is growing consistently on a daily basis. And as mobile phones with that infrastructure gets into the hands of people, there's more distractions because they have a lot to consume with their mobile phone. All right, so, and I'm sure that if you look at the audiences that are gathered for this session today, maybe over 40% are on their mobile phones, either receiving calls, checking their emails, or they're busy with one thing or the other online. So that is the problem that attention is facing. The endless scroll, infinite refresh feeds, TikTok, Instagram, and so on and so forth, bombard users with content, creating fatigue, reduced recall, and a cycle of rapid content churn. So you need to repeatedly talk to the consumer for it to stick, because the consumer keeps scrolling, The consumer keeps checking what is happening on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and possibly even getting engaged with those contents. So such a consumer is completely distracted, and then you have harder time to reach that consumer. Multitasking as the norm. Viewers split their attention across multiple screens, watching TV while scrolling Instagram, gaming while chatting, diluting focus on any single message. And so that is why we say to brands that you do not only target consumers physically, you also target them, virtually. The reason is because the physical disposition of the consumer is sometimes divided because it's also virtually connected to other devices. And so while you are connecting with the consumer on your TV, all right, so it's also important to look at other ways because the consumer's attention is fragmented across different screens. Then the rise of bite-sized content, short form formats, that you see on Reels, on TikToks, train consumers to expect immediacy, making long-form message harder to sustain. So today we talk about skippable ads, sometimes 15 seconds, 10 seconds, all right? So you ask yourself, do these ads actually stick? They don't really stick, all right? So how out-of-home fills the attention space, therefore? Next slide. So why does it work in the age of attention scarcity? Attention as a scarce commodity. Digital clutter and fragmented feeds make consumers focus harder to capture. Then out-of-home operates differently, free from digital noise. It creates undivided moments of consumer attention. Then science-backed effectiveness. Neuroscience and psychology explain why out-of-home captures and sustains attention. We're going to see this as we go into the next slides. So neuroscience here shows out-of-home captures attention naturally. How does this work? You see, motion triggers what researchers call a primitive survival response. Human vision evolved to detect motion first. If there's a strike or something here now, all right, what is it saying? Because of the way the brain is wired, there's going to be a reaction. All right? So as moving objects often signal either threats or opportunities, the body is going to respond to it, whether it is signaling opportunities or is signaling threats. A 2020 study published in Vision Research found that motion activates the superior colliculus region of the brain, which orients our gaze reflexively towards stimuli, even before we are consciously aware of what we are looking at. And that is why if there's maybe something hard drops on the roof. So the next reaction is for us to begin to scamper for safety because the human brain reacts to motion. The neurological reality gives out-of-home formats like digital billboards and transit advertising a significant advantage. So this is how you can also begin to look at how to take advantage of the way the brain works, to tie it to out-of-home. When a creative element moves or changes, it hijacks our attention system in ways that static digital art simply cannot match. Because the brain reacts to motion, reacts to movement, especially on digital out-of-home. So unlike digital environments where consumers have learned to ignore banner spaces and scroll past sponsor content, physical advertising spaces haven't been trained out of our attention system. The brain still treats them as novel environment elements worthy of processing. So if you have a very innovative, creative out-of-home material, what it's saying is that you make the brain become curious. And so the consumer wants to examine what it is that you're selling, what is the proposition, what is in there for me, all right? So how can I be part of this? So what is this telling me? Is there an opportunity here? That's the way the brain works. And actually out-of-home can take advantage of that natural system that God has created. OH impact on recall and recognition, all right? And I think that credit is because when the consumer exits his home and is in transit, he is a bit
in a relaxed situation to process. And that is, I think that's one of the advantages that out-of-home has, because recall rate here is quite high, because it's saying that 86%, okay, of higher than digital radio, podcast, and streaming. So your recall rate on out-of-home is actually beginning to shoot beyond, I would say the traditional channels that we know. And then Nielsen is saying that out-of-home recall at 47%, but the digital at 35%. And then context strengthens memory. People remember the where and when of seeing out-of-home. It sticks. And that is why, which I'm going to talk about later, if you look at what most brands are doing, it's more of real estate. They are building apertures that make it seem like they own that environment. So it's not just to have a static billboard or have digital billboards, but to begin to look at how do I own that environment? How does it become more like a place to remember? Okay, so people can actually make reference to that location because of what you've built. So we're going to see some examples. Then daily routines, spaced repetition effect, boosting long-term recall. Next. Why out-of-home stands out? You can't scroll past the billboard, no skip ad button. All right, like what you have on TV to stand out. Contextual relevance, is it location aware or culturally aligned? Interactivity and shareability, does it connect with digital channels or invite engagement? I have an example there I'm going to show you. Brand alignment, is it the tone, the message, and visual identity on brand? And of course, can it be rolled out to other markets or platforms, which speaks to scalability? Next slide. Then the key trends that are shaping out-of-home worldwide. A rise of real-world connections as consumers seek authenticity and sensory-rich experiences. Growth of programmatic out-of-home, offering precision, flexibility, and real-time optimization. Then, of course, data out-of-home cementing its role as the omnichannel, the linchpin in omnichannel campaigns. The stronger emphasis on sustainability with low-carbon practices and transparent methodologies, and credibility and trust of out-of-home in an era of digital misinformation. Convergence of experiential out-of-home, creating immersive, interactive brand engagement, and of course, driving moments and then personalization through audience real-time, triggers. So, how does your out-of-home trigger the consumer to buy? All right, if your outlet is here, and then someone is coming from Maryland, for instance, the question is, what is the distance between there and where you're located? So the consumer knows that, look, it's not going to take me much time to arrive at your outlet. That there are new models to drive attention, thrive on partnerships and consumer-centric utilitarian ideas. We are yet to begin to see this kind of out-of-homes in Nigeria. So, look at what IBM is doing, smart ideas for smarter cities. And then they created something that will help you walk through staircase without really just, having to either skip, all right, or have some difficulties. So they make it very easy for you. Then look at this as well, where, you have some kids, sitting by, and of course you have, the ad also there. And then, of course, another utilitarian idea is the one that shields it from the rain. And meanwhile, you have, so these are some of the ways that brands are beginning to drive. Oh, time. Oh, okay. The timer. Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, I don't have much time. The slides are actually so many. Then the next slide, please. Yeah, so, I just wanted, I'm talking about partnerships and something we can do. I saw this I think I presented this some time ago. I saw this in South Africa, in a mall called Canal Walk Mall. It has about 10 entrances. So the Canal Walk Mall is quite big that someone can get missing. So what did they do? iPoint created this billboard, it's like an LED. You have a small LED that has, that has the possibility of you locating where you can buy whatever. So all you do is that when you come to this iPoint, you just type in the brand that you want to buy in a mall. And then it just, with a GPS technology, because your Bluetooth is on, it just takes you to the shop where you can buy. So, and then you have an ad that is looking at you here, all right? So you can actually interact with the ad as you type in. So it's called iPoint, in a mall in South Africa, and I think this is quite a very innovative idea that we can begin to look at it for Nigeria through collaboration. The next slide, please. Anyway, go. I think we can't play this video because of time, so I just wanted to show us what Adidas did. So these are some of the examples that we gave, as to how we can take advantage of season, of environment around us to create, something that can actually tie to what the consumers are looking for. This one example that talks about, ski season and how this cream took advantage of the weather, during our season. The next one. Then this another one about Puma. Next, because of time. So this is a very beautiful one that, IKEA did. It's a GPS controlled motor and this little mirror that reflects sunlight onto shaded cafe sitting. So turning gloomy environment to something that people began to. So this is sustainability by Britannia. You can see what they did here, trying to build an eco-friendly billboard and making it look so natural and so, so organic, even within the environment. So people can relate with it. I gave an example of this where McDonald's says 30 minutes to Murua, 32 minutes to where we are. Out of home can do that. And then this is, it's also an out-of-home idea that's built with AI that allows you to check, especially for our females, you can check your hair and style it, before you leave home. Next. Then some brands have tried doing some things in Nigeria, which I want to also show. Go down, please. I don't have much time, so I think we have all seen this. Let's go down to the next slide. Then Jamieson, 12 days of Christmas is something that we can relate to. So these are some of the things that brands have done to drive attention. We have seen what Jamieson also did, the OH execution, very massive, quite innovative, real estate in nature. Then we just did this for Muka, this was just concluded, it's even yet to be launched. You can't miss it, on Awolo Road Ikoyi, and then of course Coca-Cola. So these are some of the ways that brands are innovative ideas that are adopting to drive attention at a time of attention scarcity. I mean, we're aware of what the Mattel Tower. This creates an immersive experience that transforms the space into something, an engagement platform for even consumers. The next slide. And of course, I'm sure some of you must have seen this before it was removed because there's a road construction that is going on there now. So the roundabout innovation, quite disruptive, highly impactful, highly audacious. These are some of the ways to begin to look at proximity out of home, take advantage of the environment, and then create something that is visible for the consumers to see. Yeah, the next slide. Then, of course, Blue Label, next. Yeah, the moment marketing, you can look at what McDonald's did, and we try to, of course, localize it in Nigeria. So that's a billboard. And then, of course, you can also buy, McDonald's at that point. And we did this recently. I mean, remember what GB Foods did with Hilda Bassi? Yeah, so it was a real-time transmission of events on out-of-home to drive online real-time attention. So days are gone when you begin to write press releases after an event. You can actually, this was done live as the event was happening at Echo Hotel. So we took all of the contents coming on X and then downloaded everything on out-of-home. Time will fail us to just play this so that you can see how this, how this happened. Yeah, so it had some, go back to that slide, please. So we had an average view of the live stream, deployment of Gino. I mean, the dwell time was, active time was about 2 hours, and the vehicular traffic about 1,224, estimated reach about 4,096. Just within 2 hours, we were able to reach 34 people within 1 minute. So I think this is another way we can actually use out-of-home, real-time out-of-home to drive attention at a time of attention scarcity. That's the next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, of course, 3D anamorphic out-of-home that goes viral. These are some, what Martina did, localized it, and of course, we also have Mattel that executed same innovative idea. Next slide. Then the big takeout. In an attention-scarce world, out-of-home delivers memorable impressions in the minds of the consumers. It captures attention, sustains recall, and of course drives attention better than cluttered digital channels.
Out of web is not just a support medium, it's an essential attention-first strategy for modern markets. And lastly, we need to explore partnerships to build attention-fast, innovative executions. Thank you very much.